Frustration. That is what I have felt every time I've been told I am not Latina enough, that I'm not aware enough, that I don't know the language enough, that the color of my skin is not enough of a reflection of what it means to be Latinx, so therefore I must not be. With every dismissive glance, every, "Are you really Hispanic?" I've recognized a very serious, very unfair problem. We are so quick to place people in boxes based on what we see on TV, movie screens, televisions, books, that we bypass learning about what makes us all unique and what defines us, our culture. Fear. What anyone would feel if they left everything, family, friends, home, for a new country. That's exactly what my family did. 49 years ago, my father and his parents left everything they knew in Montevideo, Uruguay, to pursue a life filled with more opportunities in America. They were scared. They struggled and they sacrificed. And stereotypes had to be constantly fought. But there was one thing that my father always says is in the Uruguayan blood, and that is Gara Charua. I grew up with a culture whose customs, language, food, music are all uniquely and distinctly their own. A culture who taught me the meaning of deep and rich honor. A culture that defines me and shapes who I am. Under the umbrella of Latin America, there are 20 or so countries, each with their own distinct music, customs, food, language. But sadly, the uniqueness that is Latin America has often been stripped away. One of the most common and clear examples of that is in the film and television industry. When you turn on the TV and see a Latin American character portrayed, they're commonly viewed as drug dealers, illegal immigrants, or just one-dimensional characters. Growing up, I would see this. I would see the world I was brought up in. I would see the people that I know, and I would think to myself, how can culture be accurately represented? How can stereotypes possibly be fought if mainstream media tells us differently? In 2017, a study done by USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism found staggering results on how Latinx is viewed in film. Here are a few of them. In 2016, only 3% of speaking characters were Latinx in top 100 films. 72 of the top 100 films had no Latinas at all. 54 had no Latino speaking characters. No Latinx actresses and actors led or co-led any of the top 100 films in 2016. Only one film, had a proportional representation of Latinx on screen in 2016. And finally, from 2009 to 2016, that entire span, only one Latina has directed a top 100 film. We clearly lack a seat at the table. There is not enough representation in front or behind the camera, and when it is attempted, stereotypes are often portrayed. 538 screened 50 movies with a test that Ligia Villalobos, head writer and co-producer of Go Diego Go, created. Now, the movies would pass the test with two rules. Rule 1, the film had to have a Latina lead, and rule 2, the lead or another Latina character had to be portrayed as college-educated or professional, speak in unaccented English, and not sexualized. All 50 movies failed. Last year, I spoke at a Latinx student conference, and I brought this topic up. All the young women in the room and the young men found this to be unsurprising, as they have often fell victims to the stereotypes that it addresses. But when asked what they were doing to combat the stereotypes, they admitted how angry they were in the moment, yet they wouldn't fight for it after. They would correct the situation, prove to them that the stereotype was wrong, but then forget about the instance later. They didn't feel they were powerful enough or significant enough to change the minds of somebody who didn't actually know them. So they didn't give it that much effort. How many times have you way back there not fought for something because it seemed too big of a challenge? I have, plenty of times. But that is precisely where the problem lies. In order for Latinx representation in films to be corrected, we have to have the courage to allow others in to see the depths of who we are. So what can be done? Well, we can start by demanding that film schools and festivals set the precedent for Latinx representation by supporting and recruiting more Latinx film writers, producers. We can also support content, like the Netflix original series One Day at a Time, or the hit TV show Jane the Virgin, that really highlight the Latinx experience. And we can support programs like the National Hispanic Foundation of the Arts, a foundation that provides Latinx students with scholarships and outreach programs so that they can pursue their degree and be successful and be the representation that we need. But most importantly, there's something that you all can do right now. Before you leave this room, I challenge you to turn to the person to the left of you, turn to the person to the right of you, and ask them how they grew up, what their cultural customs were, what they might have kept, what they might have taken out, what they're proud of, what they're not, stereotypes that might have been placed on them, and how we can all be better advocates for one another. Because it's not about what we look like. It is not about what we see on a TV screen, on a movie screen, hear in music, read in books. It is what we have inside, what stories we have to share. Stories like this. That's my grandmother. She got to see her first college graduation in 2017 when I received my degree. That is what matters. Representation, like we have all seen today, and the stories that have all been shared. That is what matters. Thank you.